Hi again, everybody. I'm Mark Newberg, Director of Impact Strategies for the Stella Group Limited, and he's Scott Sklar, President of the Stella Group Limited. And we're here for the third of our frequently asked questions. Now, Scott, last time we talked about standard payback periods for residential and small business focused solar systems. Now we're going to talk about the standard payback period for larger commercial solar systems.
Okay.
Is there a difference in the way we figure this out?
Big time. You need to remember, for commercial and industrial, larger buildings, larger than residential sized buildings, those buildings are really around much longer. And so, and the user sometimes rents the space. Over half the space is rented, and then in some cases the user owns the space. And really, you need to look at this in very different ways if you're looking at commercial, industrial, actually institutional, nonprofit like universities and hospitals, same way. If you don't own the building, then you have two issues relating to cost and kinds of systems. The first one is that if you're renting the building, and a solar photovoltaic company, or now solar water heating companies also do this, they will give you power purchase agreements. And that means they pay for putting that on the building, or in some cases on the ground next to the building. And you are only paying for the output, whether that's electricity and or heat. And so when you leave that building, you decide, I'm not going to deal with my rent after my 7-year lease, for instance, then it is up to the building owner or the next entity that comes in, if they're willing to pay that cost for the system producing its energy, which is 9 times out of 10 equal to or less than what you're paying now for your energy. So then you don't own that system. You don't have to worry about that system. That is owned by the financial team assembled by the solar company for that system.
So the benefit to me as a renter to signing a power purchase agreement is that I'm going to spend less per kilowatt hour.
Absolutely, the day I do it. Absolutely, and it's not going to go up.
And otherwise it wouldn't make sense for me to do it.
Right, because I'm going to not be here for the entire life of the system, and I don't own the building anyway. So, it gets rid of the risk. A lot of companies also like that because then it is a cost, it is a utility cost rather than a capital expense. So they don't have to put it on their books that way. And it has a different set of liability issues in audits and in the way corporate ratings of liabilities versus operating leases are conducted. If you do own your building, again, very similar to what I mentioned in our first set of fact questions, for solar water heating and solar daylighting, if you do a commercial loan to put that system on your building that you own, you can get the monthly costs less than what you're paying for utilities, without question. And so you're cash positive the day you do it. For photovoltaics, it really depends on what your midday electric costs are in your bill. And for commercial industrial, in the entire United States, they usually have differentiated pricing. It's embedded sometimes in a 100-page bill, but it is embedded. The costs are usually higher midday, significantly. Demand charges, which are just like your cell phone, after you use a certain amount of electricity, you get charged a much higher rate. If you size a system, get rid of those demand charges or get rid of those midday or seasonal power rates, and you're taking the 30% investment federal tax credit with accelerated depreciation, those systems can either save you money or at least break even.
So what it sounds to me as though what you just did is make a business case for solar.
Well, not only can I make a business case for solar, but particularly for solar photovoltaics, you know, I'm asked a lot by businesses, should I net meter or should I have batteries? And because batteries, a lot of the solar companies don't like to add batteries because obviously the battery banks add to the expense of the system. And I ask them two questions. The two questions are, do you have outages? And do you have diesel backup engines? Do you outsource the testing of those engines and the trading out of diesel fuel every 18 months? Can you live with an outage if the diesel engine does not start up when you really need it? And if they're already outsourcing, paying monthly for that service, we can get rid of that service. We say we just don't need them anymore if you have battery banks, because those batteries and solar systems will be working every day, and the systems you tie to that battery bank, your critical functions will operate during an outage. The other issue is, do you have surge problems? Do you have power quality problems? Are you losing digital equipment due to the quality of the power? Most companies don't understand it. Most of them severely are affected by it. And we buy power quality and surge protection equipment, half of which doesn't, we spend billions of dollars a year for it, half of it doesn't work. Battery banks are superb surge and power quality protectors of digital equipment.
Let's pretend for a moment that I don't understand it either. When you talk about power quality, what do you mean?
I mean that the power coming out of the socket in your building or in your installation, your facility, is burning out equipment. It is causing computers or microprocessors to go haywire. And that is related to either more power pulsing out of the socket, or power dipping out of the socket, or transient spurts of electrons coming out of the socket, and it wreaks havoc on digital equipment. At least 1/3 of the problems that we blame microprocessors and computer manufacturers and software manufacturers on are really these transients that wreak havoc on computing, microprocessors, and digital equipment. We can provide that cleanliness and make sure it operates when power goes out and take that electric load off your utility bill forever. When you blend those three costs in the commercial industrial sector, photovoltaics and batteries can be a break-even proposition, and of course with no increases. And then when you take tax credits and local incentives like renewable energy portfolio standards, renewable energy credits, RECs, or solar energy credits, SRECs, and Clean Air Act credits for reducing emissions of traditional electricity, and you blend these incentives together, it can be very cash positive for the commercial industrial user.
Which, again, is
business.
A great business case.
A great business case.
Okay, so let's take another question that we frequently get, or a concern that we frequently hear. Solar technology is not proven enough on the reliability side. It's too fragile. Can you debunk that myth?
I can debunk the myth. I want to remind people that virtually 100% of their cellular phone calls are made over satellites, powered 100% by solar, in 100 degrees hotter and 100 degrees cooler than anywhere on Earth. We have battlefield solar, where we drop them on the ground to power field phones in Afghanistan, Iraq. I have systems in Antarctica. We have them on mountaintops. We have them on deserts. This is very, very, very strong technology. These systems are far more durable than traditional energy systems, by far. Not even close.
All right, so let's recap here. There's a business case for installing solar. You give me those three things again.
Well, the business case for providing solar is reducing your uniquely high electric rates within your existing utility bill, getting rid of the costs of backup power, primarily diesels, what people use, and then also addressing the cost for or the need for power quality, which is surge, sag, and transient protection of your digital equipment. The backup power costs and the power quality costs are usually not in your energy budget of your company. And so you really have to be a little smarter and look at the three cost centers, combine that cost, understand what your electric rates will be increasing in the next 5 to 10 years. You put those costs together, you will see that these solar options are absolutely a solid business case.
Okay, so if I'm a business owner and I decide I want to explore this, who do I go to help me figure this out? Is it the same person who's going to install the system, and is it the same person who's going to finance the system?
Well, that is a good question. Depends what region and what state you're in. But in most cases, I would do the same thing. I would go to the local Solar Energy Industries Association or the American Solar Energy Society chapter. Sometimes they're states, sometimes they're regional. That list of companies, they will provide you, and you should go to 2 to 3 companies and see what they offer. A good portion of those companies are also involved in financing these systems. So you can decide whether it makes more sense for you to use your own money, your bank or financial institution, or their approach, and decide what is the better deal for you. And and some of it is, some of it's dollars and cents, some of it's just aggravation. It's easier just to let them do it than you worrying about it. But whatever the case, we have thousands of systems going in every week in the United States using those different financing scenarios.
Are there scenarios that you've seen before where at the present time for a business owner it doesn't make sense to install a solar system?
If you have well, first of all, for solar water heating and daylighting, it's absolutely cost effective. I don't know any instance why you wouldn't want to do it. For solar photovoltaics, I keep on saying it only makes sense if you have uniquely high rates, you have some power reliability problems, and you have power quality problems. And to me, that is the best. Or you really want to make an environmental statement on reducing both Clean Air Act and greenhouse gas emissions. If you don't have those things on your field, then I would not do it. There are other things you can do with traditional energy efficiency that might be just as good.
All right, well, thank you again. That's the third of our frequently asked questions. We'll be back with more. I'm Mark Newberg. He's Scott Sklar for ICMA, the Stella Group Limited, and the SunShot Solar Outreach Partnership. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.